Fallacy. Appeal to novelty. 10. Fallacy. Appeal to novelty. An appeal to novelty is a logical fallacy where something is claimed to be better or correct solely because it is new. This fallacy, also known as argumentum ad novitatem, argues that novelty implies superiority without examining the actual merits or benefits of the new idea or product. While novelty can be good and drives innovation, it is a fallacy to assume newness inherently means improvement over established options. How the appeal to novelty works. The fallacious reasoning. The underlying idea is that new automatically equates to better. Example. A marketing campaign for a new phone claiming it's superior simply because it's the latest model, without providing specific improvements. Common examples. Marketing. Advertisements frequently highlight cutting-edge technology or a new and improved product to persuade consumers, even if the actual benefits aren't significant. Everyday decisions. Believing a new exercise plan is better than traditional ones just because a celebrity endorsed it. Technology. Assuming a brand new operating system is inherently more stable and efficient than a well-established one, like in the case of Windows Vista. Why it's a fallacy. Disregards value. It overlooks the potential value and effectiveness of established ideas, practices, and solutions. Leads to poor decisions. It can result in impulsive choices, wasted resources, time, money, and the adoption of inferior products or ideas. Ignores nuance. Novelty doesn't guarantee quality, and new things can have flaws or be poorly designed. How to counter an appeal to novelty. Examine actual merit. Critically evaluate the new product or idea by analyzing its features, benefits, and drawbacks. Question motivations. Consider the goals of those promoting the novelty, especially in advertising or marketing. Focus on evidence. Look for actual evidence of improvement rather than accepting the claim of newness as proof of superiority. The opposite fallacy. The appeal to novelty is the opposite of the appeal to tradition, which claims something is good or true simply because it has always been that way. Underscore. Also known as appeal to the new, newer is better, novelty. Description of appeal to novelty. Appeal to novelty is a fallacy that occurs when it is assumed that something is better or correct simply because it is new. This sort of reasoning has the following form. X is new. Therefore X is correct or better. This sort of reasoning is fallacious because the novelty or newness of something does not automatically make it correct or better than something older. This is made quite obvious by the following example. Joe has proposed that 1 + 1 should now be equal to 3. When asked why people should accept this, he says that he just came up with the idea. Since it is newer than the idea that 1 + 1 = 2, it must be better. This sort of reasoning is appealing for many reasons. First, Western culture includes a very powerful commitment to the notion that new things must be better than old things. Second, the notion of progress, which seems to have come, in part, from the notion of evolution, implies that newer things will be superior to older things. Third, media advertising often sends the message that newer must be better. Because of these three factors, and others, people often accept that a new thing, idea, product, concept, etc., must be better because it is new. Hence, novelty is a somewhat common fallacy, especially in advertising. It should not be assumed that old things must be better than new things. See the fallacy appeal to tradition. Any more than it should be assumed that new things are better than old things. The age of thing does not, in general, have any bearing on its quality or correctness. In this context, obviously, age does have a bearing in some contexts. For example, if a person concluded that his day-old milk was better than his 2-month-old milk, he would not be committing an appeal to novelty. This is because, in such cases the newness of the thing is relevant to its quality. Thus, the fallacy is committed only when the newness is not, in and of itself, relevant to the claim. Examples of appeal to novelty. A made-up advertisement. The city CK900 pump-up glow shoe. It's better because it's new. Two business people are having a discussion. James. So, what is this new plan? Biv. Well, the latest thing in marketing techniques is the GK method. It is the latest thing out of the think tank. It is so new that the ink on the reports is still drying. James. Well, our old marketing method has been quite effective. I don't like the idea of jumping to a new method without a good reason. Biv. Well, we know that we have to stay on the cutting edge. That means new ideas and new techniques have to be used. The GK method is new, so it will do better than that old, dusty method. A professor is lecturing to his class. Prof. So you can see that a new and better morality is sweeping the nation. No longer are people with alternative lifestyles ashamed. No longer are people caught up in the outmoded moralities of the past. Student. Well, what about the ideas of the great thinkers of the past? Don't they have some valid points? Prof. A good question. The answer is that they had some valid points in their own, barbaric times. But those are old, moldy moralities from a time long gone. Now is a time for new moralities. Progress and all that, you know. Student. So would you say that the new moralities are better because they are newer? Prof. Exactly. Just as the dinosaurs died off to make way for new animals, the old ideas have to give way for the new ones. And just as humans are better than dinosaurs, the new ideas are better than the old. So newer is literally better. Student. I see. 11. Fallacy. Appeal to pity. An appeal to pity, or argumentum ad misericordiam, is a logical fallacy where someone attempts to persuade an audience by evoking pity, sympathy, or guilt instead of providing relevant evidence or logical reasoning to support their claim. This tactic manipulates emotions to sway opinion, but the feelings of the audience do not make the argument valid. How it works. 1. Identify the lack of evidence. The person making the argument does not offer facts, logic, or evidence to prove their point. 2. Introduce emotional pleas. Instead, they share stories or situations designed to make the audience feel sorry for them or a third party. 3. Demand agreement. The implied or explicit goal is to get the audience to accept the conclusion solely because they feel pity for the situation described. Examples. You must give me a passing grade on this exam because I've had a terrible week and my parents will be very disappointed if I fail. Is an appeal to pity because it focuses on the student's emotional state and potential consequences for their family rather than their qualifications for the exam. A company may run ads showing suffering animals to ask for donations, aiming to provoke sympathy to encourage financial contributions, rather than explaining how their organization uses the funds effectively or what specific problems it addresses. Why it is a fallacy. It substitutes emotional appeals for logical arguments and evidence. The audience's feelings are not a substitute for the truth or validity of a claim. It serves as a distraction, drawing attention away from the real issues and the necessary logical analysis. Also known as ad misericordiam. Description of appeal to pity. An appeal to pity is a fallacy in which a person substitutes a claim intended to create pity for evidence in an argument. The form of the argument is as follows. P is presented, with the intent to create pity. Therefore claim C is true. This line of reasoning is fallacious because pity does not serve as evidence for a claim. This is extremely clear in the following case. You must accept that 1 + 1 = 46, after all I'm dying. While you may pity me because I am dying, it would hardly make my claim true. This fallacy differs from the appeal to the consequences of a belief. ACB. In the ACB fallacy, a person is using the effects of a belief as a substitute for evidence. In the appeal to pity, it is the feelings of pity or sympathy that are substituted for evidence. It must be noted that there are cases in which claims that actually serve as evidence also evoke a feeling of pity. In such cases, the feeling of pity is still not evidence. The following is an example of a case in which a claim evokes pity and also serves as legitimate evidence. Professor. You missed the midterm, Bill. Bill. I know. I think you should let me take the makeup. Professor. Why? Bill. I was hit by a truck on the way to the midterm. Since I had to go to the emergency room with a broken leg, I think I am entitled to a makeup. Professor. I'm sorry about the leg, Bill. Of course you can make it up. The above example does not involve a fallacy. While the professor does feel sorry for Bill, she is justified in accepting Bill's claim that he deserves a makeup. After all, getting run over by a truck would be a legitimate excuse for missing a test. Examples of appeal to pity. Jill. He'd be a terrible coach for the team. Bill. He had his heart set on the job, and it would break if he didn't get it. Jill. I guess he'll do an adequate job. I'm positive that my work will meet your requirements. I really need the job since my grandmother is sick. I should receive an A in this class. After all, if I don't get an A, I won't get the fellowship that I want.